You probably have heard a little bit about prologues and people saying that they don't like them. So why don't we like prologues? What's wrong with them? They've been around forever, right? There's nothing wrong with prologues, except hello, my writerly friends. I'm Victoria, author, editor, and the owner of Blue Pen. It's been a little while since my last video, largely because I have been hard at work growing Blue Pen and turning it into a comprehensive resource for all authors, but especially for authors who are self-publishing. I keep hearing stories about authors getting taken advantage of by these predatory self-publishing companies, and I wanted to create a trustworthy place that authors could go to get high quality editing and book design and know that they're being treated right. So that is not what this video is about, just that's what I've been up to. So one of the services that we offer, and one of the things that I have a lot of experience with in my own editing career, is developmental editing. I actually did a video a while back about some of the common mistakes that I see in first chapters, and today I want to kind of dial in on one of those specifically. And you saw the title of the video, you probably already know what it's going to be, but we are going to talk a little bit about prologues. Now, if you've been reading things on the online writing community, if you have been attending writing conferences in person or virtually, you probably have heard a little bit about prologues and people saying that they don't like them. So why don't we like prologues? What's wrong with them? They've been around forever, right? There's nothing wrong with prologues, except okay, so what is a prologue? Basically, a prologue is an opening that is not indicative of the rest of the story. So maybe you are starting with a flashback. Maybe you're starting from a different character's point of view. Maybe you're starting with a flash forward. You're beginning the story with something other than the main story, the story proper, shall we say. And I feel like a lot of people kind of do this thinking about what they see in movies or on TV shows, where they have that quick opening scene with a car chase that's gonna happen later in the show, or a moment from the protagonist's childhood. They start with those quick scenes and then they move into the actual story after the viewer is hooked and interested. And that works on screen. It does not work as well on paper, and we're gonna talk about why. So here's the main thing. I like to call it a false start, because that is really what's happening. You're giving the reader one start, and then in chapter 1, you're starting again. This is the real start. And you might think, okay, but with that prologue, I'm getting the reader interested. I'm getting them hooked right off the bat. That's what you want, right? Yes, that is what you want. That's exactly what you want. But at what cost? Because what you're doing when you're giving the reader that false start is you are getting them invested. They are invested in this character, in this setting, in this time. Remember, when a reader starts a book, they are being dropped into this whole new world, and they have to orient themselves very quickly. They have to look around and say, okay, what's going on? Where am I? When am I? Who am I with? Who are these people? What do they want? Why should I care about them? They have to do that every time they start a new book. So if you drop a reader into your prologue, they do all that, they orient themselves, they get invested. And then when the prologue ends, you rip them out and you drop them somewhere new and make them get oriented and invested all over again. And there's a very good chance that when you do that, the reader is gonna say, nah, and close the book. We never want the reader to close the book. We always want the reader to keep moving, keep the momentum, keep the pace, turning pages. So what is the answer? You want that prologue to get the reader invested before you start the real story, which in your mind, it's not as interesting. The reader isn't gonna get invested and interested in chapter 1. Well, that tells me that you're not starting chapter 1 in the right place. If you think chapter 1 is so boring and so slow that you need to add a prologue first, you need a new chapter 1. Most of the time that means that you need to trim closer to the main conflict, to the inciting incident. So remember, when we're talking about the main conflict, what does the protagonist want? What is in their way? And what is the worst case scenario if they fail? That's goal, obstacle, and stakes. That's what we're looking for in the main conflict. So you should be able to cut as close as you can to the introduction of that main conflict. And if you can't get there, then maybe a smaller conflict. Doesn't have to be the main conflict, but maybe a smaller conflict near the beginning to help that reader get invested. If you're starting the story with, something slow, with the character's normal day, please don't make it a morning routine. But if it's anything like that, it's going to be challenging for the reader to get invested, and that's when you might consider adding that prologue to the beginning. But that's not the fix. The fix is to make sure chapter 1 is engaging. The other thing that may happen is you may have a prologue that does not fit that criteria, that is not a false start, that actually does lead into the primary story. And in that case, it's not a prologue, it's chapter 1. Just call it chapter 1. Now, like anything else, there are exceptions. I can hear you saying from there, but my story is different. Now, it might be different. It might be the exception. The prologue may truly be necessary and the strongest way to open your story. But have a look at it. Consider that most of the time, you're the rule, not the exception. That's just numbers. That's just the way it is. Have a look at it and be objective. Really think about it. Think hard. Send it to your beta readers. Send it to a professional editor. Get outside opinions and thoughts and think about alternatives. Is there another way you could begin the story? When you are editing, when you're doing revisions, try not to get too locked into one solution, to one structure, to one anything. That's the whole point of revisions, is being able to say, all right, I did it this way. What are the other options? What else could we do? What might be stronger? Try it, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you change it back to the way it was. That's about all I have to say today about prologues. Catch me on another day, I might have something to add. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and call it. Again, I am Victoria. If you're looking for editing services, you can check out Blue Pen. I'll drop a link in the description. And of course, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully new videos will be coming out a bit more regularly, so keep an eye out, and as always, happy writing. See y'all next time.